So a good requirement process follow a step-by-step system for identifying and hiring qualified candidates who can help the business grow. And here are some reason a recruiting process is important. So it helps in hiring talented candidates. So the entire recruiting process evolves the HR manager to search and shortlist candidate with the right education, skills and experience. To find the right candidate, the commonly used an applicant tracking system, ATS, and conduct interview and use other evaluation tactics. And also it saves time and money on the hiring. So an effective recruiting process can help save a business both time and money. A streamlined process can fill vacant position faster than a cumbersome one can. So also, without a proper process, organization miss out on qualified candidates who may lose interest because of the delay in the recruitment, right? And also it connects with candidates for future job openings. So even if the HR manager selects a different candidate, they can always stay in the contact with other qualified candidates who did not receive the job offer. And it also saves the time on the training. So a structured recruiting process will ensure that the HR manager hires the right candidate with the right skills. So qualified candidate may not require formal training to start their work, and it helps an organization to grow. So through a dedicated recruitment process, the HR manager can hire qualified and skillful candidates who can contribute to the growth of business. For instance, they can hire a pool of business development executive to drive sales and connect with the new client. And it also help hire culturally fit candidate. So an effective recruitment process can help HR manager determine if the candidate shares the same values and principle as the organization does. So a culturally fit employee is likely to be more engaged and satisfied at a workplace. So this reduce employee turnover and increase the retention rate. Okay, and what are the steps in the recruitment process? So a recruitment process typically follows 8 steps. So you can see here these are the 8 steps. So we are going to discuss about these steps one by one. So first is the recruitment planning phase. So in the recruitment planning phase, you identify the hiring need within the organization and create a job description for each vacant position. The job description lists the qualification and the experience required for the job and outline the primary job responsibility an employee needs to accomplish at the workplace. So regardless of whether you hire for a full-time or a part-time position, make sure you create a job description based on the team's input and your analysis. So in the job description, you should also mention the job location, compensation and other benefits. So a good job description should make qualified candidates apply for the job with your organization, and it should clearly mention the kind of candidate you are looking to recruit. Right. The next step is evolve diversity strategy for recruiting the most qualified candidate for the vacant position. In this phase, the recruitment team identify if the candidate require professional training for accomplish their work. So the team also determine the source of recruitment. It could be campus hiring, job fair, online posting and recruiting agencies. So each type of source require different resource. For example, you may have to visit a college for a campus hire. So in this phase, the recruiter also determine and selects the different places to advertise the job. Some organizations prefer giving advertisement in the newspaper, while others may upload the job advertise on online hiring or job search portals. So in your job advertisement, avoid using the complex language or jargon words that a candidate may not understand. So the strategy you develop may also depend upon the job role and the requirement. For example, the technical roles like programmers and IT developers often require a student from an IT or computer science background, right? So the next step is a searching phase. So the searching phase evolve actively seeking new candidate to fill vacant position. Often organization use both internal and external source to recruit the best fit candidate. Internal recruitment may happen through promotion from within the organization and by contacting retired or former employees. So many organizations use an employee referral system for internal training or internal hiring, we can say. Some may even get in touch with previous candidate. External recruitment source may include campus recruiting, advertisement or recruitment agencies, and direct recruiting. Then next we have the screening phase. So the screening phase involve shortlisting candidate from a pool of application or CVs. For a screening candidate, you may have to review the CVs and profile summaries to separate the qualified candidate from the unqualified one. So when reviewing a CV, go through their educational qualification, experience, skills and career progression to make a choice. So often many recruiters use an ATS to filter out candidates who do not meet the bare minimum requirements. Some recruiters may ask candidates to complete a psychometric test to evaluate their personality, identify their leadership potential, interpret their ability to maintain workplace relationship, and test their general intelligence. So after shortlisting the potential candidate, you can conduct them via phone or email. Many organizations conduct a brief interview to verify if the candidate still wants to pursue the job role and set up a time for the first interview round. And the next step is the interview and the selection phase. So in this phase, the recruiter has to plan interviews with the shortlisted candidate, while face-to-face interview are preferable. So you may conduct the Skype or video call interviews if the candidate is not local to your office location, and the interview process typically lasts for 15 to 20 minutes, and the number of interviews a candidate has to face depends on many factors. So these factors could be the number of candidates interviewing for the job, the competitiveness of the job role, and your organization size. So based on the role, interview question may vary. Look for a response that showcase the skills, experience and stress handling ability of the candidate. Also, use these response and information from the interview to select the best fit candidate. After making a final decision, utilize this phase to conduct a background check and verify the employment details of the candidate. And background verification can ensure that there was no miscommunication or misleading information shared about the candidate's experience and qualification. Okay, then we have the job offer phase. So the next step is officially making a job offer to select candidate. The offer letter should provide details like the start date, performance expectation, compensation, perks and benefits, working hours and work related policies. So if you are hiring through a recruitment agency, they should make the job offer to the candidate. Then when the candidate accepts the job offer, you can start the onboarding process and welcome the new members to your organization. The onboarding process can help the new employees learn about the organization cultures, understand their work policies, meet with their team members and understand workplace expectation. Then at last we have the recruitment process. The last step of the recruitment process is the analyzing the effectiveness of your recruiting method. In this stage, you should determine if you are satisfied with the candidate you have hired. Also consider the cost effectiveness of your current recruiting process, and if there are any ways to improve your current recruitment process. For an in-depth evaluation of your recruiting methods, you can conduct a statistical analysis. It will help you evaluate the cost and time you spend on the recruiting a candidate. So you can even use qualitative measure like surveys to ask manager about their experience with the process. Based on the survey result, you can change the process and improve it for future recruitment. Okay, and you can see here this is the process flow. You have to first you have to first create the requisition, and then what is the selection criteria, then you have to advertise for the job, then when you receive the job application where you advertise your job, then if the category is application into A and B, or if the suitable job, so if the job is suitable, like candidate is suitable for the job, like A is the suitable for the job, then you can interview the candidate and assess against the criteria. Okay, and if B is suitable for the job, then you can interview the job, or you can select the candidate and send them the offer letter. And for A category, like in your organization, A is difficult job and B is like clerical type of job, so you can select any candidate with has a minimum education, and like the undergraduate one or the graduate one. Okay, but for the A, you have like certain skills, the specific skills, right, and specific qualification, so you have to conduct many rounds of the interview. After seeing the candidate and evaluate the candidate, you can go to the further process, like you can send the offer letter if you want your the A employee, like your employee is suitable for that job, and if not, you just send them a email regarding the rejection. Okay, let's start with the pre-employment process. So these are the pre-employment screening checklist. First, you have to develop screening criteria, review your application and resume, set up and conduct screening interviews, administer relevant pre-employment assessment and test, then conduct background checks and maintain accurate documentation, and evaluate for the final decision, and then conduct the reference check. So these are the checklist of the pre-employment. If we talk about in depth, so first is like what we need in the recruitment process, like what is the recruit to the onboard process. So for any organization, its people are its biggest asset, right? And effective recruitment and onboarding strategy ensure that the best candidate are hired for the available position in the organization. So the first stage in the potential employee's journey with an organization is the recruit to the onboard process flow of the applicant life cycle. So this includes all the process from the movement potential candidate learn about the job openings till the time they are inducted as employee and start working in the organization. So to successfully manage the recruiting to onboarding process flow, you need a robust configuration and some fail-safe processes. So the recruiting process depend on the strategy defining for recruiting application, which include maintaining the requisition, building the career side, sourcing and maintaining candidate, managing interview and extending the offer, as well as hiring the candidate and proceeding with the onboarding journey. For this, the following process need to be put into the place. Like you have to determine the workforce needs, right, drive the candidate engagement, then manage sourcing, and then perform intelligent screening, then select the candidate and generate the offer, and at last you can onboard the new hire. Let's see these process in depth. Okay, first let's talk about the recruiting cost, then we will see these process in depth. Okay, so for example, if you want to hire 5 employee in your sales team, okay, so what are the costs you have to first decide? So here you can see, first you have to gather your cost data from your finance team, right? Then you have to identify your internal cost. These are the steps you have to follow for successful recruitment process and allot the budgeting. Okay, so what is your internal cost? So here are some example, and the cost of sourcing, the recruitment team cost, the compliance cost, and the office equipment, right? So these are in the USD and these are in the INR cost. Okay, for 5 employees we are talking about, because we are hiring here, for example, hiring 5 employee in sales team. Okay, so for those we have to first see these steps. We have to first gather the cost data from the finance team, then identify the internal cost, then identify the external cost. So what are the external costs? First we have to do the background check, pre-screening expense, sourcing expense, technological expense, agency fees if you are hiring from the third party, right, and the marketing cost as well. So fourth step is complete the calculation. Okay, so what are the cost type we have? We have two types of cost, internal and external. So in SD we have, in USD we have these two numbers. The total amount for internal we have 7,000 USD, and for external it's a 6,500 USD, and you can see here in the INR. Okay, so how many employees we want to hire? We want to hire 5 employees. What is the cost per hire? So what we have to do, we have to find the total cost, right? Total cost here. So this is the total cost for the USD and for the INR. Okay, now what we have to do, we have to so this is the cost per hire employee. Okay, here to select this, and this is the cost per hire in India in INR. Okay, currency. So we can see here the example for two currency, for the USD and for the INR. So basically cost per hire is a recruiting metric that measures the cost associated with the process of hiring new employees. So these include expenses such as the sourcing and recruitment, advertising cost, the onboarding, the referral bonus program cost, etc. For example, if you hire 50 people for the year and you spend an estimate of $1 lakh, okay, on the hiring process annually, so that would mean that your cost per hire is a $2,000. So it's a great way to measure if your recruitment process is optimized relative to your industry and roles. So also it is useful when comparing between department across the quarter and annually to spot any significant trends. So multiple factors impact your organization cost per hire. So that's why you have to follow these steps. First you have to gather your data, then identify your internal cost, then identify your external cost. So basically the internal cost are the expenses associated with the monitoring and the processing. Then also we have the compliance cost. So it's a document to be compliant, example the legal document, the procedure document, etc. So expense associated with the support of the recruitment function, including things such as office equipment, rent, food, hotel expenses, etc. So if it is impossible to allocate the exact administrative cost of recruitment, then a percentage of the total admin cost can be used based on the recruitment headcounts. And cost of the training and upskilling recruitment staff to expand their skills. This might include some online courses like talent acquisition or any certificated program or any offline training, right? So this is the cost of your sourcing and recruitment staff, including their salary, performance, bonus and benefits. So typically your hiring manager is responsible for other parts of the company, so any time spent away from the desk doing interview costs the money. So these are your internal costs. If we talk about the external costs, so the costs are associated with ensuring the candidate is fit for hire. This include criminal and educational checks, reference, credit check and eligibility to work, immigration status and etc. So costs related to ensuring the candidate meets the initial recruitment criteria, example assessment, test, automated interview, and the cost of sourcing expenses, purchase of information database, professional association membership, right? The cost of associated with the recruitment technology, including your applicant tracking system, infrastructure to process application, system maintenance, etc. Cost for both candidate and recruiter where travel is required. This include flights, hotel cost, etc. And also we have the marketing cost. So any cost associated with the recruitment marketing efforts include social network, SEO, website update and job board posting. And if your organization follow the employee referral expenses, so if you have an incentive program to encourage employee referral, then this would be also a cost. Then signing bonus, a sum of money paid to an employee to join the company, this is also a cost. Any third party expenses, this would include for example a professional association or an external agency that provide you with the source or the candidate, right? And there is a one more cost if your organization follow the job fair. So job fair is also one expense. So cost associated with the organization a job fair include renting equipment, shipping, designing, booth cost, labor and rental expenses. So for both an external cost, you need to analyze every part of the recruitment process for your own company to identify all the cost. Some of the cost we have talked about may apply and some may not even be mentioned in the here you can see in this list, right? So the total number of hire, determining your total number of hire depends on the outcome you aim to achieve and calculating cost per hire. Your number of hire could include both internal and external hire. It could also include temporary staff, freelancer, fixed term contract. So on the other hand, it could exclude employees transferred as result of a merger or acquisition or employees that are on a third party payroll. So then the number depends on the period you are calculating your cost per hire for. You might look at the total number of new hire in a specific quarter or in a calendar year, or for instance, right? So to calculate cost per hire, you need to gather all the data of your internal and external cost. You also need to determine the period of time you are calculating, the monthly, annually, bi-weekly and quarterly. So you can also calculate the average cost per hire per department or even per role. You can also go through 4 steps to calculate cost per hire, which we will going to see. So the first trying the first thing you need to locate is your expense report for a specified time period, and also you can try to get this from the finance team, and as a best as possible isolate the cost for the recruitment team. Okay, if we talk about the second step, so you have to capture all the internal recruiting cost in a separate sheet in one column. For example, let's here just like we calculate the internal cost, right? So if you want to if you want to start the hiring in next month, so first you have to follow these steps, right? First you have to identify your internal cost, what's your cost data, so first you have to gather that. Then you have to identify your external, what is the costing of your external parts of the organization, right? Then you have to see your total cost, the external and the internal. Then you have to divide your total cost with the number of hired employees, so you can find your cost per hire, right? So you can decide here, you can decide that is your benefit when you hiring an employer or loss for your company. So basically if you are hired 5 actuarial employees in the January, then operating above the industry average is acceptable and accepted. So if for example you are recruiting for a less specialized job, then perhaps you want to review your process on how to reduce your cost per hire, right? But if you want to hire any high skilled employees, then you have to set your cost accordingly, because you want more talented people, so that's why you have to do costing accordingly. But if you want to hire the employee who can do the clerical job, then you can find a way to reduce your cost. So these are the costing in the pre-hiring process. Okay, these are the costing associated with the pre-hiring process. So now let's talk about this process, the determine workforce needs. These are the pre-hiring process. So to have a strong workforce, workers must have the skills, experience and credential that are typically sought by employers. So basically the recruiting address the primary challenge of recruiting the right talent is in the organization. So start with the identifying what position need to be filled, how to recruit the best talent for those positions, and thereby improve productivity and operational efficiency. So it takes this process into the modern era by leveraging a data driven approach, and you can say most of the application provide a mobile user interface to source and engage both internal and external candidate, and apply business insight across all HCM for influencing better hiring decision, right? So to ensure the right candidate is hired, be specific about the skills and qualification you are looking for in the employee to be hired. Involve your existing employee, ask for referrals for your existing team. Okay, try out various recruitment and social media platform in search for the best candidate. Provide a meaningful and enriching new hires experience through the onboarding. So as a part of the drive candidate engagement, let us take a look specifically at how the hiring team identify the talent needs of the organization and then structure a job description to advertise for the vacancy, right? So for the job description, a job description detail are the requirement a candidate has to fulfill for the position. It include qualification, requisite expertise and experience, and what the job entails. So develop a job description and corresponding scorecard to identify the kinds of trades and skill you need to recruit for. Okay, then we have the pre-screening and disqualification questions. So as a recruiter, you can use pre-screening question and disqualification question as a part of the requisition. So it help in the screening for the right candidate. Then easy to build template based page enable HR professional to update and refresh the content and branding for the career page. So themselves, without help from the web developer, the recruiting team can have direct control over the design, messaging, tone and content, thereby eliminating the need to work with IT or go through the marketing department to design a compelling candidate portal. So the entire candidate experience is fully mobile and responsive to support a frictionless application process. It incorporates multimedia in the site content and job description to keep the candidate engaged. So getting a candidate engaged in during the application process is an important goal for the recruiter. So candidate is engaged during the application process. Basically, the recruiter or hiring manager create the requisition with all the details such as the job description, qualification, pre-hiring question and job formatting, employer and recruiting organization description and branded image and videos. These things you can put on your job description on any career site. So the career site experience for the candidate is enhanced with a better understanding of the employer. Then we have the managed sourcing. So now that the requisition is posted in the organization career site, let's take a look of other media and channels through which the recruiting team can source candidate. So you can have targeted campaign to communicate with candidate pools and market open requisition to both internal and external candidates. So these campaigns drive proactive engagement with candidate pools, which help build a talent pipeline. For a positive candidate experience, you can choose to incorporate video and other rich media content to draw them in and encourage them as they complete the application process. Right, so other sources such as the job board and social media posting agencies and employee referrals can provide a potential candidate database to the recruiters. But strategy, the media that can attract a high number of potential candidate, cross skill with multiple sources to fill a vacancy with a high potential candidate. Then we can perform the intelligent screening. As a recruiter, you can use adaptive intelligence technology for intuitive candidate recommendation with skills and experience that match the job description. This way, the best candidates are readily available to the tag to the job requisition. The adaptive intelligence model use information such as applicant, candidate, employee and job requisition data from the any recruiting things. Okay, basically we find that in our Oracle recruiting. So basically adaptive intelligence tool to filter and match the best fit candidate, it is going to use for that, and list of top recommended candidate provide to the recruiter to directly match the candidate to the requisition. Now if we are going to move to the next, it's select candidate and generate the offer. So after identifying the top recommended candidate, the next step is to map them to the vacancy and interview them, right? So developing a screening process include the crafting powerful interview question and trial task for the candidate. Using all these tools, you will succeed in making a job offer and getting the right candidate on board. So draft powerful interview question and receive collective feedback from the interview. It will help to the best recruiting, and the selected candidate will receive an offer from the recruiter. And then last we have the onboard new hire process. So once the job offer letter is generated and extended to the candidate, the next phase is the onboarding process to focus on the candidate. This includes new hire engagement with the guidance-based task management to foster a sense of engagement and inclusion within the organization. Effectiveness onboarding enhance operational awareness and effectiveness, ensure compliance and varies, consolidates and manage data effectively. Onboarding also encourage both pre and post hire interaction and empowers new hires with critical social connection at the workplace. So the offer has been accepted by the candidate and you are ready to start the pre-onboarding process. After offer acceptance, candidates are taken through the pre-boarding process to ensure smooth transition from candidate to new hire in the organization. The onboarding process helps new employees adjust to the social and the performance aspect of their job as quickly available. Okay, so these are the process in the pre-hiring we have to follow. So tomorrow we are going to see how we can create the job requisition, right? And how we can manage the sourcing, how we can do the intelligent screening, how we can select the candidate, right? And what is the new onboard to the new hire. So these are the things you have to do it in our tomorrow session. Okay, so today we just see what is the pre-hiring process. First we have to determine the workforce. We have to see the drive candidate engagement, manage sourcing, perform intelligent screening, generate candidate, and then we have to onboard the employee. And we also see what are the costing. So we have advertisement cost, the sourcing and screening cost, right, the interviewing cost, assessment tool, and the onboarding costs. And we also calculate the cost per hire of the employee in this session. Like if you want to hire 5 employees in sales team, so what you have to do, so you have to do first gather your cost data from the finance team and isolate with the recruitment team, right? And then identify your internal cost and identify your external cost. Then you have to complete the calculation. So first you have to find the total cost by the internal and external, and then you have to divide by the total number of hires, so you can find your cost per hire of the employee. Okay, so this is how you can calculate your cost per hire. So why is cost per hire an importance metric to track? So basically determine the recruitment and the HR budget. Tracking your cost per hire data helps you understand what financial resource you need to hire in the next period. It helps with forecasting cost for the year and also provide a clear indication of recruitment contribution to the bottom line of the business. As an example, through a number of social media and employee advocacy initiatives. So not only did the result in the reduction in cost, but the associated the efforts resulted in the high retention rate. So this a significant positive impact on the HR and recruitment budget, as it means reduce effort in the recruitment and onboarding cost, and it's also manage the cost. You don't always need to strive to lower your cost per hire. Surely some hard to fill roles will have a higher cost per higher than the other roles. However, you do want to make sure that you are getting values from your money. So basically if you're hiring any opportunity in any organization to use Indeed or any job portal as their preferred search engine for jobs, so application made through the Indeed send it directly to the applicant tracking system as a any organization applicant tracking system. As a result of this strategic decision, the organization cost per hire was reduced by the 74% compared to the company average through other platform, right? So measuring the performance of recruiters, the metric also give you an indication of how your recruiters are managing their resources. For an example, Nature's Pride found themselves in a situation where their business was exponentially growing as the recruitment needs grew as well. The company found that by using external recruitment agency, they were not growing the strength of their internal recruitment team. Among many strategic decisions, the choice to be fully in control of their own recruitment process allow them to measure performance result and result in the approximate what is the cost per hire. So basically, calculating your cost per hire helps you optimize your recruitment budget and recruiting process as a whole. Make sure to keep track of your internal and external expenses to get an accurate overview of cost per hire at your organization. So a one size fits all approach does not mark when calculating cost per hire, as it is essential to take into a consideration many variables, including the roles being recruited for, the demand for the talent, and the size of the organization. So this is all about today's session. I hope this topic is going to be useful for you. Why you have to take the cost per hire and what is the pre-hiring process and cost associated with it. So thank you so much for watching the session.